Have you ever heard of a saying, a person's life has actually been engraved in a piece of bone, but you just don't know it? This is not superstition, nor is it a myth. In ancient China, some people engraved questions into tortoise shells. In Northern Europe, people believed that rune bones contained clues to fate. But the most chilling thing is when archaeologists discovered that some bones really engraved the direction of a person's life. Here comes the question, why is a person's fate determined by a piece of bone? Is the name of the soul written long before you were born? What we are going to talk about today is not just an archaeological story nor a metaphysical legend. This is a dark legend about souls, memories, and bones that spans Eastern and Western civilizations. Imagine this picture. At night, by a campfire, a shaman puts a piece of bone into the fire and chants something. He knocks on the bone, and the bone cracks, and the cracks spread like lightning. The shaman looked down at the cracks and whispered, "In the future, you will be 3,000 miles away from home and die on a winter night." The man turned pale after hearing this, turned around and disappeared outside the fire. Many years later, people really found his bones in the snow in a foreign land. You may say, this is a coincidence, a story made up to scare children. But if it is just a legend, how could it be recorded in so many temples and scriptures of civilizations? Is it true that something has written the trajectory of our lives in the bones? In Yinshu, China, archaeologists have unearthed countless oracle bones. What is recorded on them is not sacrifice or history but specific questions. Can my wife give birth naturally? Will I die if I go hunting? Will there be a drought next month? The bones are cracked by fire, and the cracks are the answers. Interestingly, the word verification is often engraved at the back, meaning the result has come true. Imagine thousands of years ago, someone nervously held a piece of bone, just wanting to know whether he could survive. The cracks are like words written by fate coldly telling him, "You will die." Later, he really died, and his bones were buried underground, left for future generations to read. Modern scholars say that this is the fear of the unknown by primitive people, but people who have really seen these bones will tell you that some cracks are too coincidental, like words written deliberately. For example, one bone says, "Tonight, enemy soldiers will attack, and I will die." Not long after, the owner of that bone died in the night attack. The question is, the cracks of the burned bones are random. Why did they just write the answer? Did the bones remember the future? Or is there some power that carved the future into the bones? People in both the East and the West believe that the name of the soul is hidden in the bones. In Tibet, people are buried in the sky after death, leaving behind a piece of spiritual bone, which is said to resonate with the consciousness before death. In Northern Europe, there are rune bone pieces, and the symbols are not random, but are regarded as soul signatures. In African tribes, shamans use sheep bones or chicken bones for divination, and the results are often so accurate that it is frightening. Why do bones have power? Because bones are the hardest part of the body and the only form that remains after death. It is like the last signature of the soul in the material world. Think about it. Your bones may be silently recording who you are, who you have loved, and what you will encounter in the future. Just like a file hidden in a hard drive waiting to be read out one day. Some people say that all this is just a coincidence. But the more stories you read, the more you feel that there is something whispering behind it. China. Legends of spirit bones, thousands of years ago. The Southern Shang Dynasty, Yijianji records. Scholar bought a bone engraved with strange symbols and had a dream that night. In the dream, a woman in red cried and said, "That is my soul bone, give it back to me." The scholar woke up and threw the bone into the river in fear. The next day, news came from the street. An unknown female corpse was fished out of the river with only bones left on her right arm and words on the bones. No one knows what the symbol means. But the older generation said that is the real name of her soul. Nordic, the curse of rune bone fragments in Norway. There is an ancient curse. If you carve the name of your enemy on a reindeer bone and then burn it with fire, the curse will come true. In 1942, a Nazi officer dug up this bone fragment in the Arctic Circle. He sent the bone fragment back to Berlin as a trophy of conquering Northern Europe. As a result, the plane carrying the bone fragment mysteriously lost contact on the way back. Decades later, the wreckage was found. The body was intact, but no bone fragments were found. Where did the bone fragment go? No one knows, except that the officer went crazy later and claimed to hear the bones whispering. Modern people always say, these are just the ancients' imaginations of the unknown. But the truth is stranger than imagination. Experiment at the University of Cambridge in the UK. Scientists randomly drilled holes in animal bones and then burned them. 30% of the crack shapes are highly similar to what the subjects are worried about at the moment. Worrying about car accidents, car-shaped cracks appear. Worrying about lovers, the cracks are heart-shaped. Why? Do bones read people's thoughts? Or do people's fears change the cracks? Science cannot explain. But spiritual traditions have long said, bones are the resonators of the soul. What is the true name of the soul? The ancients believed the true name is not given by your parents, but you have it before you are born. It is hidden in the hardest bones, such as the base of the skull, collarbone, or spine symbols are just a human imitation. The real name is a frequency, a vibration. Records of Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah literature mentions there is a seal in the bone, there is a sound in the seal, and the sound is the key to the soul. When you call your true name, the bones will vibrate and the soul will respond. So some people say, if you want to remember your past life, hold your urn or the remains of your ancestors and call your true name softly. If you want to curse someone, try your best to get his bones. It sounds cruel, but this is the secret connection between bones and spirits. But those who master the true name never have a good end. In the Indian Brahmin classics, it says, those who peek into the true name of their soul will lose the peace of the world. In the Heian period of Japan, the true name was used as a curse. Those whose true names were discovered either went crazy or died suddenly. Why? Knowing the true name means you can see through the fate of your own life. You may also control the souls of others. The greater the power, the greater the price. This is the oldest law of the universe. Imagine this scene. You accidentally touched a piece of bone left by your grandfather, and there was a strange symbol engraved on the back of the bone. In the middle of the night, you dreamed that your grandfather stood at the door and whispered, "That's your real name, do you want to know?" You hesitated for a long time and finally nodded. Grandfather raised the bone to his ear, and the bone seemed to whisper, like the sound of the wind thousands of years ago. The next day you woke up and found that your body and life had not changed. But when you looked in the mirror, you suddenly found that the person in the mirror was a little different from the you in your memory. From that day on, you dreamed of scenes you had never dreamed of before. You began to hate things you used to like. You occasionally thought of an unfamiliar name, but felt that it was me. You found your real name, but lost your former self. In the mystical traditions of the East and the West, the name of the soul is not just a name. It is a frequency, a key, an ID card that keeps the soul from being annihilated. In ancient Egypt, people have multiple souls. K, vitality; Ba, personality; Ren, real name. The real name is the core of the soul. If the real name is known by others, it may be cursed. If the real name disappears, the soul will disappear forever. In the Vedic tradition of India, after the baby is born, a naming ceremony, Namkaran Sanskar, is held. The name is not given randomly, but is based on the birth date, astrology, and sound vibration. The real secret name is only told to the closest master or family, because in the eyes of the ancients, the real name is the vibration frequency of the soul. If it is called correctly, it can awaken destiny. If it is called incorrectly, it may bring disaster. Bones are the things that remain the longest after a person dies. It is incorruptible and is a recorder of all the experiences of a person's life. Modern archaeology has discovered bones not only carry DNA, they also carry weak electromagnetic information. Some scholars used extremely sensitive magnetic field, detectors to scan human bones in experiments and found that the bones retained weak but continuous electromagnetic pulses. Some people said that is the aftermath of soul activity, so the real name is engraved in the bones, just like the boot password of a hard drive. Bones store your real name and also your fate. Tell a true story, Paris, France, late 19th century. Doctor collected a piece of bone from the Roman period with strange words engraved on it. One day he accidentally broke the bone. That night, he wrote in his diary, "I dreamed of an ancient man in a white robe saying to me, 'You destroyed the seal of my soul. I want to take it back from your body.' The next day, the doctor's right hand was inexplicably ulcerated, and a few days later the entire arm was amputated. Before he died, he repeated a sentence. 'The bones are whispering. The bones are whispering.' No one can determine the meaning of the words on the bone fragments, but some scholars speculate that it is the real name of the deceased. Imagine, you have been searching for "Who am I?" all your life. Suddenly one day, you really know. But the price is, you have to face the fear, darkness, and truth that you once escaped. A philosopher said, "Humanity does not lack answers, but the courage to face the truth." Do you want a real name? After you have it, you may never go back to ignorant happiness. Imagine a girl who has the same dream since she was a child. There is a bone knife with strange symbols engraved on it in the dream. Forget it when she wakes up, when she grows up. She finds a bone knife in the attic of her ancestral house, which is exactly the same as the one in the dream. She suddenly understood the symbols on the blade. Amariel, fragments of her real name. Dream memories came flooding in. Betrayed in her previous life. Stabbed to death by her lover. Buried at the bottom of a cold river, she cried until she collapsed but was extremely clear-headed. So this is me. With her real name, she found her complete self, but she also had to accept the pain and suffering of her previous life. Science says bones are calcium and collagen. There is no soul name. Spirituality says bones are resonators. Names are keys, maybe both are right. True name is not words, not sounds, but your deep awareness of yourself. When you wake up, you silently recite that name, which makes you complete yourself. Imagine this. Late at night, you hold a piece of bone, left by your ancestors. Thunder rumbles outside the house. The bone seems to be slightly warm. You close your eyes and gently recite the syllables that appeared in your dream. Suddenly, something hits your chest and you remember. Forgotten childhood. Smiles from past lives. Those pictures of the real you can no longer deny. You are not just a body, you are a soul, a memory, a light, because the world is changing. Memories will fade. The body will eventually decay. But the true name of the soul is the only thing you will never lose. When you are lonely, afraid and helpless, and you gently call it, you will remember. Who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? 44. Conclusion. Confession of the soul. Maybe one day, you will really get a piece of bone with your true name engraved on it. Maybe you won't, but please remember, the true name is not in the bones. The true name is deep in your heart. When the night is quiet, close your eyes. You don't need to see, you don't need to hear, you just need to feel. You can hear that name, the voice of your soul that transcends life and death.